Let's talk about punctuation. There are 14 punctuation marks in the English language. The period, question mark, exclamation mark, semicolon, colon, dash, hyphen, apostrophe, quotation marks, parentheses, brackets, slash, ellipsis, and the comma. Periods, question marks, and exclamation marks are forms of end punctuation. Periods in sentences. For example, the dog ran away from home, period. Question marks end questions. For example, have you seen my little dog? Question mark. Exclamation marks end emphatic statements. For example, wow! Exclamation mark, I found my dog, period. Be careful not to overuse the exclamation mark like we do on Twitter, Facebook, or in texting. In formal writing, one is all you need. The next example is a bad one. I found my dog, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. A semicolon is a punctuation mark used to separate things. For example, they separate two independent clauses. College is a necessary step in life, semicolon. It can be expensive. Semicolons will also separate two independent clauses that have a conjunctive adverb. Conjunctive adverbs are words like however, nevertheless, therefore. Here's an example. College is a necessary step in life, semicolon. However, comma, it can be expensive. Remember that setup when we get to comma review later. Semicolons also separate items in a series when the items contain commas. Here's an example. My dream vacation consists of New York, comma, New York, semicolon, London, comma, England, semicolon, and Florence, comma, Italy. A colon is a specialized piece of punctuation. Think of it as an equal sign. It tells the reader that what comes after it, the colon that is equal to what comes before it. And here's an example. There are 3 movies that must never be remade, colon, Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, and Otizen Kane. This is my personal opinion, by the way. A colon is also used to denote time. 2:45, we have hours, colon, and minutes. And you also use a colon after the salutation in a formal business letter, such as Dear Mr. Smith, colon. The dash is used to emphasize words or phrases in a sentence. It should be used sparingly in formal writing. Here's an example. Abigail's looks, dash, silky hair, clear blue eyes, perfect complexion, dash, were nothing when compared to the kind heart she possessed. The dash can also be used to set off on a positive. Only one actor, dash, Ronald Reagan, dash, has never been elected president. Notice that the dashes are on both sides of what words or phrases you're trying to set off and emphasize. A dash can also be used to show a change of direction in thought. For example, you must study every night without, well, maybe you don't. Hyphens are used in prefixes, compound nouns, compound adjectives, and numbers. Here are some examples. Prefixes, ex-husband or all-purpose. Compound nouns, such as father-in-law or president-elect. Compound adjectives, such as soft-spoken and slow-moving. And in numbers, such as the fraction 1/5 or the number 23. An apostrophe is used to form the possessive case. Dog's collar, notice the spelling D-O-G apostrophe S, is the collar belonging to one dog. Dog's collars, again notice the spelling D-O-G-S apostrophe, are collars belonging to several dogs. The placement of the apostrophe tells us whether it is singular or plural. Apostrophes are also used to indicate a missing number or letter, such as 55 Chevy. In this case, we've taken out the number 19 for 1955 and we've put an apostrophe in its place. Also, we have contractions such as don't, can't, and will. It's really important to understand the difference, and as a matter of fact, the best way to avoid problems with apostrophes and contractions is stop writing in contractions when you're writing formally. Quotation marks should be used for direct quotes. Notice the placement of punctuation within the quote. Here are several examples. Harry said, comma, quotation mark, we should eat dinner first, comma, and then we can fall asleep at the movie, period, end quotation mark. Open quotation. We should eat dinner first, comma, and then we can fall asleep at the movie, comma, end quotation, Harry said, period. Another example. Open quotation. We should eat dinner first, comma, close quotation. Harry said, comma, open quotation, and then we can fall asleep at the movie, period, end quotation. Harry asked, comma, open quotation, should we eat dinner first? Question mark, close quotation. Harry said, comma, open quotation, dinner first, exclamation mark, close quotation. Notice that the exclamation marks and the questions are generally put inside the quotation marks. This is an important rule, and you really should pay attention to this. You will also notice that commas are placed inside quotation marks. We'll cover this again when we talk about the use of commas. Quotation marks should also be used to indicate the title of a short literary or artistic work, including songs, essays, chapters of books, TV episodes, poems, magazine and newspaper articles, and even short stories. Here are some examples. My favorite work by Kate Chopin is The Story of an Hour. The quotation marks are placed around the title of the short story. The Road Not Taken is Frost's best poem. Notice the quotation marks around the title of the poem. I do not like the live version of Stairway to Heaven. Again, the quotation marks are placed around the title of the song. The One Where Nobody Is Ready is the Best Friends episode. Now, the episode has a title, The One Where Nobody Is Ready. It's a television episode. It's a shorter work. The word friends is in italics because it is the name of the larger body of work. Parentheses are also used to separate something from the text. The material is often unimportant, but the writer feels it is interesting information. Here are some examples. George Washington, 1732 to 1799, is considered the first president of the United States. Those are his birth and death years, and often when you first mention a historical figure, you will put the birth and death years in parentheses. Many scholars recognize Emily Dickinson, who only had 2 poems published in her lifetime, as one of the founding voices in American poetry. The author of this particular sentence wanted to make sure that you knew that Emily only had 2 poems published, but he or she did not want to put it in a separate sentence, so they put it in parentheses. Brackets indicate that the writer has changed a pronoun or capitalization of a word from a quote in order to make his sentence grammatically correct. Here's an example. The speed with which, quote, he changes his opinions, end quote, demonstrates his inability to sway voters. A slash is another form of punctuation which separates items. Words. This is a win/lose situation. You also use slashes to separate lines from plays or poetry when they are quoted. This information will come in handy to you if you ever have to write about literature. Here's an example. Dickinson writes, quote, hope is the thing with feathers, that perches in the soul. Notice that I have also given the line numbers for this poetry. You'll learn more about this much later in your education. An ellipsis indicates when words have been removed from a quote. Here are two examples. The first example you'll see has all of the words in the original sentence, and then we'll see the use of the ellipsis. Elton John received numerous awards, including the Grammy, Golden Globe, and Academy Award for his single, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Now, here is the sentence with the ellipsis. Elton John received numerous awards for his single, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? You can see where the words have been removed. Commas may be the most difficult form of punctuation to understand because they have so many uses. In fact, there are so many rules that I will devote an entire PowerPoint to them.